All right, back with me now is criminal defense attorney Lara Yeretsian. Now, Lara, I want to get your official statement on the record here about how you feel about this case. I think I'm pretty clear where you stand, but I want to get your official record on whether you think this case should have even been brought or whether the prosecution has a chance of getting a conviction.
Listen, anything is possible. We saw it in the Scott Peterson case. I didn't think that they would get a conviction then, and they did. So there's a lot of power to getting people to think, maybe what this person is doing is odd. It's not the way I would behave. So then maybe that means that he committed this crime. He's had an affair. So yeah, can a jury go can a jury decide that he's guilty? Yeah, it can happen in a circumstantial case. Should it in a case like this? At least based on what I've heard and seen up until now, no. My official position is that he should not be convicted unless there's something that I'm missing that's going to come out during the next week or so in the prosecution case. Up until now, there's nothing here that convinces me beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's very important, beyond a reasonable doubt that this man has in fact killed his wife and dumped her body somewhere.
Now, we talked when we began about some of the similarities or some of the parallels between the Scott Peterson case and this case. And I think one of the issues in the Peterson case was that by painting him as someone who was having this affair, I think, you could get jurors to look at him with jaundiced eyes or look at him differently. We have the same issue here. They're going to come up later where he was seeing another woman either right before his wife disappeared or soon thereafter. And they're going to play that up in front of this jury. And do you think that is something powerful enough? Because again, they've sort of painting him now as a curmudgeon, someone who didn't care about his wife. There could be tons of reasons for it. And the defense has done a pretty good job of bringing those up. But at the end of the day, they're not painting him in a very good light. And do you think that's going to end up hurting him?
Yes, it's pretty powerful evidence to say that someone was having an affair. Now, it's not clear if it was right before his wife disappeared or right after. There's also some lying here, and the two of them, Kathy and the defendant, agreed to lie and kind of cover up how and when they met. So all of that is going to make him look like at least someone who's not very credible. Possibly gives him, obviously, the motive here to try and get rid of his wife. And you know what? There's just a natural reaction by a jury. This woman who's got mental health issues has disappeared, and we've got this man with another woman. It's reason to get a jury to the point of hating him, which is exactly what happened in the Scott Peterson case. The jury just hated him, despised him. Not just the jury, most of the nation despised him for having an affair, behind his beautiful wife who was pregnant. It's powerful evidence.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, the same situation existed where they were able to sort of play up the emotional side of that case because there was not only a wife, but also an unborn child there. So they were able to play that up. Here, they also worked a little bit on the heartstrings. They called all three of the children his stepchildren, the victim's natural children. And they talked a lot about them and a lot about the fact that they did, in fact, like him as a father, called him dad, which you don't often see in stepchildren cases. But at the end of the day, they used that to sort of play up the fact that she was a nice woman and that he was doing what he could. I want to play a little bit of a soundbite here from Marsha Lawrence. She was the oldest daughter, and she comes on the stand. She testified to quite a few things here. She's going to talk about statements made by the defendant about wanting to get rid of her stuff, the victim's stuff, right after she was disappeared, not too long after she disappeared. So let's take a listen.
On that day, did you have the opportunity to hear anything else Jim may have said that was concerning to you about your mother being missing?
Yeah, he was sitting in the kitchen at the table, and he's like, I don't know what we're going to do with all of her. Look at all this stuff. This place is too big for two people. And then he said, I know she didn't want an obituary. And he said, we're gonna have to call up a U-Haul or something like that to take all this stuff to Goodwill.
And how did you feel about a comment like that from him?
Well, we didn't know where my mom was, so that was confusing. And the only thing I knew is in the pit of my stomach is I thought, something's not right.
Because you're still hoping your mom's going to walk through that door.
Right, we still haven't found her, so why are we talking about getting rid of her things?
All right, now, Lara, I think I get the sense that the prosecution is going to walk this case into a corner such that the jury is going to be left with this idea that there's no other alternative but that he did it, right? You don't find the body. He had opportunity. He had time to get rid of the body. You got all these other surrounding sort of facts. Is it enough to walk them into a corner and say there's no other solution, or do you think they really need a body here?
Listen, yeah, it would be helpful for the prosecution to have a body, but clearly they're trying to navigate this case without the body by slowly, bit by bit, building up their story. And like you said, taking the jury to a corner. Now, it's going to be up to the jury to say, you know what? This isn't the only corner we have. There could be other corners. There could be other options. Is there reasonable doubt here? Are there any other explanations, for example, for his behavior? Is he just this groggy old man who's just angry? Maybe the explanation, a reasonable explanation for the way he's behaving is that he's just angry that his wife has disappeared, or he's just that kind of a person. If you think about it for a moment, someone who's committed a murder would be in his best behavior. He's not going to make comments like this. He's not going to want to bring more attention to himself. He's going to be out there joining the searches, doing everything possible to look like this perfect husband. Not that that would have helped either, because we saw that didn't even make a lot of difference in Scott Peterson's case. But one would think that that would be what he would do. But this is what this man is about. This is James Prokopovitz. And he can't pretend to be another man. So the jury has to keep that in mind and see if if there is another reasonable explanation for this.
Yeah, and that's that. Ultimately, there's no burden on the defense, but I think they have a duty to kind of show this jury that perhaps maybe there are some other explanations if they can come up with just some ideas, because I think you have to give them something to hang their hat on. All right, Lara, stand by. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be coming up. Right after this break, we're going to hear some emotional testimony from the alleged victim's oldest daughter. So stay with us here on Court TV.